Movie Time is brought to you by the Gateway Film Center, 1550 North High Street, Columbus, Ohio. Further details and showtimes online at gatewayfilmcenter.com.
The award-winning It's Movie Time is produced by John DeSando. Listen to the shows and read reviews online at WCBE.org.
I'm John DeSando.
I'm Wayne Miller.
And this is
It's
movie time
with our little award.
Oh, boy. Well, let's see how award-winning we are.
Well,
because we've got a tough movie today.
Oh, could you ask for a more craggy-faced person? The movie, instead of The Homesman, should be called The Homely Man.
Good one. So The Homesman stars Tommy Lee Jones. Nobody does it better for craggy, old, ornery man. And he is. This is the Wild West, 19th century. But Wayne, I thought everybody went west. What's going on in this thing?
Well, I think they wanted to come back. Hilary Swank plays a frontierswoman, a spinster, who desperately wants to get married. And she takes on the task for the church of taking 3 crazy women. I mean, these women were crazy. Back to some home church across, the prairie to Iowa, so that they could get help and be sent back to their families.
I mean, they only have to go across Nebraska and Iowa, but if you remember, and I've certainly taken my motorcycle across Nebraska, it is endless.
Oh, endless. And of course, they did meet a lot of characters along the way. What I liked about not only the Hillary, I'm a big fan of hers. I've been a big fan of Tommy Lee ever since Lonesome Dove back in '88, and even before that, The Eyes of Laura Mars with Faye Dunaway in the early '70s. The guy is meant to play these type of characters, which he did also effectively in a movie about 10 years ago with Kate Blanchett. It's The Missing. Where he plays her father and another craggy old frontier guy.
I remember a short film that he did on a short story by Faulkner called Barn Burning, in which he was just the same kind of ruffian going around burning barns, and he's great. So, it is a reverse. It's like not Westward Ho, it's now let's go back east and take these ladies to a parsonage where Meryl Streep will take care of them.
Yeah, Meryl Streep. Now, it's interesting you bring that up because kind of sprinkled throughout the movie are some great character actors and actresses from the movies.
Right.
Like John Lithgow in the beginning plays the minister.
Plays the pastor.
Meryl Streep, the minister, a minister's wife, in Iowa. But also some TV kind of icons. William Fitchner, who's one of the husbands of one of the crazy women back in Nebraska. Very good James Spader.
Oh, I love that sequence. An old Victorian nowhere in a planned city called Fairfield.
A beautiful, like a Victorian home.
Nowhere. It's like the home in Giant. If you remember, it's just out there, nowhere. And Spader's deliciously eating up his part.
Oh, yeah.
He's a very bad boy.
Yeah, very bad, but very charming type of guy. You can kind of see him as a go-getter entrepreneur.
This is where Tommy really comes alive for me.
Yeah.
In that whole sequence, it's great. It kind of shocks it because, there is no way to get around the fact that the trip, even with the 3 women in the box, it looks like a roving jail.
Yeah, it does. Like a 19th century paddy wagon.
Right.
They put these women in.
And it's just difficult to get it really exciting unless you have murders or...
Oh my, it's kind of like, they run into Indians and they run into, of course, they play to type in this quite a bit.
So all those secondary characters really work out very well, but the heart of the film is Tommy Lee Jones and Hilary Swank. Now, you have 2 Oscar winners here, and when they face off, they do a terrific job. They're very, very... She is quite independent.
Yes.
She's one of a long line in films of tough ladies.
Right.
And in the embarrassing situation of where she offers herself to marriage to 2 very unworthy guys.
Yeah.
And they both turn her down. She's too bossy.
Well, and then, and I don't want to give away a lot because if people go see this, but she gives more than that away, to one character. But now, John, this is where I don't want to give a lot away for my grade at the end. This is where it falls down for me. She does something about 2/3 of the way through the movie that, given her, two things about her character.
I know.
One, how tough she is.
I know what you're going to say.
But
yep.
secondly, how caring she was. She really cared for these three crazy women,
yeah.
washing them, washing their clothes. And so she does something that really turns the movie on its head, and I think was not, to me, not true to what the character she had building up to that. Now, this is based on a book, and so the book obviously did this. And
yeah.
we've talked before about how some plot twists enliven a movie. To this, it pushed it to the point of being incredible.
I would say that that you're spot on about enlivening. I thought it really did turn it around. I thought it was shocking.
Yes.
And for the reasons you're talking about, it wasn't consistent with that tough
yes.
character. However, figuratively speaking, it works exactly right, because with these three nutcases and with the guys that she's been attempting to connect with, it's a really frustrating world out there. So yeah. For me, okay, I'm making the transition because thematically, you know, people who go out there are inevitably, or most, are going to be crazy. So I'm thinking even this strong woman is sucked into this mad world.
Yes.
And look at he's very good about framing his shots, his long shots, for the wagon going across. And it's, my gosh, you look at it, you say, I can't do that. They're taking 5 weeks to take these ladies back.
Yes. and through that journey, and I always wonder, after the movie ends, what happens to these characters? Because to me, a movie is all about the relationships and the characters.
Yes.
There was it seemed to be a sisterhood formed between these three women.
Yes.
By the end, you know, and there's one scene where one wanders out in the river, and the other two follow her, try to help, try to pull her out, and it doesn't go. It's not like they have any miraculous, healing, of their fragile minds, but at least you have a little bit of hope that they're not quite as crazy when they arrive in Iowa, and hopefully, with 1880s psychiatry, that maybe they'll be healed rather than institutionalized, for the rest of their lives.
You're reminding me, one of the curiosities of this, somebody mentioned that there's a similarity between this and The True Grit, the Coen brothers.
Yeah.
And that there was a kind of cute little connection there, because one, Haley Steinfeld, appears.
Yes, and
who was in True Grit.
Right, and another very good actress, Miranda Otto, plays one of the crazy wives and does very good. And you bring up, and I always like to compare a movie with other ones, and so I went back. There was one called Going South, 1978, with Jack Nicholson, Mary Steenburgen.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that she's a spinster, he's an outlaw, she saves his life. Wants him to marry her. Somewhat similar. That one was played a lot more for comedy. And then I even dug back further into the early 50s for a movie called Westward the Women, where Robert Taylor leads a wagon train full of women, bought wives for the guys out in the prairie.
Let me pull in some of our cinema classics here and just say there certainly is some comparison between this and The African Queen.
Oh yeah, that's a very good one. Very good, craggy, kind of homely man, an attractive younger woman on a mission, and you got the religious angle there with both of those too.
There's a lot of pre-feminism that could have been included here.
Yeah.
I think Tommy maybe missed some opportunities to take it just a little bit further. But I could certainly make the connection to today. I mean, my thesis is it's still difficult for women. And that he pushes to the extreme in this one, does make his point. But I thought maybe there could have been a bit more of that. Also, being less discerning than you, I really wasn't able to clearly define the three ladies. I know one of them throws a baby in
the outhouse.
Into the outhouse.
So there. And the other one is constantly raped by her husband, even with her mother in bed.
You will
with
give
him.
me a son.
Yeah, it's kind of like, you will bear my seed.
And another poor soul loses 3 kids, I think.
Yeah, diphtheria.
Diphtheria.
And she's only 19, so
Yeah.
you know that these women started childbearing at 14, whatever, very young age. But what's interesting, you bring up Bogart there in The African Queen, and I happened to just catch a couple of Bogart movies, and not some of the classics, but ones that he made in the 50s. And really the similarities between he and some of the other older men who were never really pretty men, handsome men to begin with, but there's a certain machismo about them that Bogey had. Definitely Tommy Lee Jones has.
Yeah.
And without the smirking, I think Jack Nicholson has it. Without the old golden boy good looks that he used to have, that Robert Redford, he shows his age, but yet, he's got that cragginess about him now. And so I kind of wish maybe I could become more craggy and attractive.
Well, you're working on it, and you still have plenty of time.
Well, I'm trying to work on the voice that way.
But you're still an educator, and you still have to oversee the giving of grades.
Yes.
And so you're going to have to come forward on this one. It's called The Homesman.
Yep.
It stars Hilary Swank and Tommy Lee Jones, and your grade is, Wayne Miller.
Well, because maybe I'm too harsh, because it's an adaptation of a book, and if it's true to the book, then what happens, with her, the decisions that she makes a big difference there. But I'm giving it a C+.
All right. And I'm giving it a B. And we differ on this in that I try to avoid at all costs the comparison. But you are sympathetic with a book.
Yes.
And I take it for what it is. And I do agree with you about what happens to her. But I can see it conceptually. But anyway, it's a solid B. You might get a little bored in it because the trip itself is a little boring. But anybody who thinks that Tommy Lee Jones is boring needs to go to another planet.
And stay to the end, because as he starts shooting up on shooting at whatever, then starts dancing around. I love that. I bet that was great.
Yeah.